amazing because I was part of that effort. I had no idea I was part of that effort, but it was really interesting to see how Tony had taken the work that we had done and extended it throughout the company and used it to impact our organizational change. And from that moment on, we started working deeper with different partners in the company around different initiatives. Like, there was no longer these silos where Office is working on something and they're not working with us. Because we knew the company mission at this point was to make sure that we're delivering experiences for more people and across different products and not just sitting in one experience. And I'm not going to say that that was amazing, and there's still problems with that today, but it was absolutely fantastic to be part of that impact, to impact the company. A little bit later, I worked with another leader at Skype. As Tony left, we had another person named Mark Gillette, and then we had another person named Gurdeep. He's a well-known industry expert in AI. He worked for Bing, and he came back to Skype. And once again, I get this amazing opportunity. Like, I'm super naive. I have no idea what's going on. And he's like, we want you to be part of a team. So what team? What are you talking about? He's like, SkypeX. I said, okay. All right, let's figure it out. Absolutely amazing. I was part of a team across disciplines. Some people were executives. These are people I would never have talked to otherwise, to help figure out what was next for Skype. Now, at this point in the company, I think we were getting about 2 billion minutes exchanged per day via Skype. Okay. Per day. So we were at the rise of the company. I mean, it was going really well. But the company had recognized that other products in the industry were starting to put video in their software. So Facebook had used Skype as an integration, and they dropped it and built their own. Then we had WhatsApp and WeChat and then iMessage, and the company felt like video had become commoditized, and we needed to figure out what's next. And I'm not sure if you saw Ray's talk, but he talked a lot about what I've seen and heard in different companies as the BXT model, right? Business, experience, and technology, or desirability, feasibility, and viability. And so when you're working on your products, it's really important to have that holistic point of view. Do people want it? Right? Do they want it? Do they see a fit in their life? Are we helping them? Should we build this? Right? And we heard, like, make sure your businesses are steady. Are you making an income? Is somebody supporting you financially? Are you going to make money off of this? Are people going to pay for the service? And can we build it? And oftentimes we did a lot of innovation and brainstorming sessions where there are ideas we fundamentally could not ship. There's no way that we could build. The technology had not gone there. So we worked with this cross team. Well, we started with desirability. So my favorite part of this effort and the most unique shift for me as a designer was meeting with real people. And we did an ethnography where we met with folks in China and then folks in California. And we really wanted to help and understand, like, why people came together. What was that sensation? What was that emotion that drew people together? Like, how does it feel to be in that relationship? So we met with people who were in romance because we knew that people fundamentally for Skype used it for video to video for long distance relationships, right? And then we also looked at friends because we also looked at the comparison of WhatsApp and iMessage and other products that were out there at the same time. And then we found this unique set of people. We call this shared interest. And these people were interested in hobbies only. Something like, in the group that we met on the bottom left were paramotor gliding. Has anyone done that? I haven't. I'm very scared of heights. But they would get together all the time. And we met with motocrossers, we met with comic book artists, and we realized that this group of people didn't have a product for themselves. They were using blogs and forums, but they really didn't have anything where they could exchange thought and ideas and feel together. Because they didn't care to make friends with these people, right? Like, they didn't care that person to the right of them was their best friend, but they wanted to go paraglide together, right? They didn't care about anything else, whether you're a skateboarder or a musician. And then the group that we met with on the right were families and how they communicated and what they did, because also another group of people that got together and had a relationship. And how do you make families feel stronger together? We ended up already experts with things like B2B and classrooms and project teams. As you saw the Cougar ACE work that we had done before, we took all of those and we established what we call group personas. That people fundamentally have different nuances in how they socialize with each other based on the group that you're engaged with. There are rules. If you're with your family or your mom is present, you're not going to interact with your friends the same way. If your mom's there, you might throw caution and not fulfill what you really wanted to say. If you're with your friends, you might let go a little bit more. But we fundamentally found that there were rules that would help impact our features by a couple of things. We tried to understand why they connect. There were motivators, that they really wanted to feel together. And this work is pretty intense. I'm only giving you the highest level. The next thing is, how do they connect? Fundamentally, people connected no matter what group you were in. They would connect routinely. They would set a time. They were like, oh, we're going to talk every day at 8 a.m. Romance. People who got together as groups, shared interests, would get together once a month, right? So there were these universal times where people got together. And then we started establishing their needs, right? Whether they wanted to coordinate activities, or they just wanted to be spontaneous and just do things, or then remember that they wanted to go back and do those things again, or relive those experiences. And these were the frameworks that we used to help sponsor and prioritize the features and things that we were trying to build in the future. So the executives got together and we started looking at stories, just like we did with the marketing / Cougar ACE work that we did. And we came with lots of ideas. Like, we made the team pretty flat. The executives came and we went and we did workshops across. Like, we went to London and we did some workshops. We did workshops with our teams. And then we came up with tons of stuff. And we did the same thing. We took that BXT model and that desirability, feasibility, and viability, and we put together pieces. So for the brand and the experience, we built experiences and we made sure that Skype and the concepts that we were doing would help fit, do they want this? We then did business plans. Like, I'm not showing you that because that stuff is pretty internal, but we did look at market share for Slack, market share for WhatsApp. How could Slack make money? How could, if we were investing in any one of these businesses, which one felt like the right thing for us, right? And we presented some propositions and direction. And then we said, can we build it? So we forked the Skype's code, both from the business point of view and the consumer, and we actually played around with the real code and put a whole bunch of probable really ugly UI together to show design around the experiences that we wanted to build, the features that we thought were going to get us there. And Gurdeep had us present in London a 7-hour presentation. 7 hours. And I got to meet some really great people, and it did impact the company. It was absolutely fabulous. But the thing that was really amazing for me is that I was leading, but I didn't really understand what leadership meant. I was naive. The real thing is, like, amazing leaders actually don't have all the answers. Tony Bates was a leader in which he found something that was already happening in the organization and built on it and used it to impact the company, right? Like I said, my goal was to build great products, right? And so he used something that we wanted to do for storytelling. We shipped some things there. And then Gurdeep, he knew he needed to get a team together, right? He needed to get something together called the SkypeX team and then help build what's next. Now, Gurdeep's outcome and our team's outcome, SkypeX, created 2 products. And I wasn't there the entire time, but we built 2. About a year and a half later, we started getting early dog food for Teams. And it wasn't called Teams when I was there. And then we did a Skype update. Guess what? Even though the leaders that are amazing had answers and they used our work, the left one is doing well because it's packaged with a bundle that Microsoft offers Exchange as a product bundle. And so corporations automatically use that as an option instead of buying Slack. So it's taking off. I think they have a whole bunch more users. It's been out for like maybe 2 or 3 years. It's doing really well. Then you have Skype update. Somebody said in the audience that they love Skype. Who here still uses Skype? Some. So this was a huge failure. Unfortunately, even though all of our research and all of our usability and everything said that this is something we should work on, they are now rolling back features. So I don't know if you guys have seen the latest, but they're totally killing everything that team had started progressing on. And it's such a shame. But we forgot our real users. Those 2 billion minutes that were being exchanged per day, and the reason why they were using it, we forgot about them. We were so anxious to do the next thing that we lost our user sentiment. And it's in the media all the time. Like, people are like, it's shit. I get it. But for me, there was something in the back of my mind that, what about shared interest? Right? Like, what about those skateboarders? What about that music lover? And so I found myself in this meeting room. And in this meeting room, I was leading an executive workshop. So I was like, okay, I got to interview. I'm going to interview for jobs. Because I didn't really want to build teams. And I didn't really want to build Skype Update. I really wanted to do something for the shared interest group. And I found myself in this really weird interview. And the 3 interview questions that I had been asked, and they wanted me to lead the workshop. So there's other executives in the room that I have to drive conversation with. And they asked me, how do you formulate a product design vision? How do you set up design across platforms? And how do we layer design into the teams? And I was like, well, why do you want a vision? You tell me why you want a vision. Like, I'm happy to answer that, but you tell me why. And things like this. What I failed to mention is they flew me to Berlin from Seattle, but they physically weren't there. I was in this exact room, standing behind this, like the second chair and using that whiteboard, while they were all in New York. Thank God I was at Skype beforehand. Thank God I knew how to run meetings through video. Turned out this was amazing. I really wanted to take on all 3 of these challenges and try to figure this out. I also really still had that sentiment of shared interest. I love SoundCloud. I joined SoundCloud. I was the head of design for SoundCloud, later was the VP. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. I just was copying things that I had learned from these other leaders and other people I met at Microsoft and other companies I'd worked with. But my favorite thing about SoundCloud is that commenting on tracks, that, wanting to talk about the love of music. You heard that from Hashabit around the app that he built. And I thought it wasn't great. Like, I remember looking at SoundCloud apps at the time, and maybe even today one would say, I was like, I can help. Like, I want to help. I want to build great products. I want to help this product get better. How was I going to lead as an exec? I don't know. But I started from somewhere. I thought, okay, what are they doing? And I was given this. And I stripped the numbers. And they're like, we as an executive team are working on these goals. We're going to be indispensable to all music creators. We're going to be music streaming market leader, which the running joke was internally, we called it MISML. We then were trying to be financially stable. And I looked at these numbers, and as a designer, this made no sense. I was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean CMAO? That made nothing, it made no sense to me. Help me understand. So I went to a lot of meetings. I asked executive questions. I was like, why is it that number? At first, I remember being really shy and saying, I'm not really sure I need to know these numbers. But I went, and I had those difficult conversations, and I tried to connect it to design. I say, well, I need to build that vision. Remember? I need to build that vision. How do I build that vision if I don't understand what the business goals are? So I went and I started looking at some work. I started working with different VPs and helping to understand what they were doing. And we started looking at the data. We found that SoundCloud was being used by 16 to 24-year-olds, okay, primarily. They also had money. And we also learned they were digital natives, and they wanted to be instantly connected. They were very creative, and they wanted to talk about music. I know, it sounds like a duh thing, but I needed the facts. I needed the quant and qualitative future trends to help present to the leaders, my peers in the company. And then we started organizing different ideas, and you see there's a pattern, always creating visions. And in this one, we ended up coming up with an opportunity. We said, let's help this generation, the curators, the listeners, and the creators discover new moments with music. So to be discovered, right, or discover great tracks. Help people be authentic in their expression. This generation is the most creative generation. They want to emoticon this. They want to draw on top of tracks. They want to comment. So taking what SoundCloud was already known for and taking it to the next level. And then helping people be live together, helping them feel connected. Do you remember that research we did at Skype? Very similar, lots of similar trends. But guess what? We were building this. And I remember having this moment going, okay, but the users don't want this. And I wasn't sure. So we then did an ethnography where we had a diary study following subscribers for the first 30 days. And they also said that they didn't want this. They said it. They said, those features that you're offering, I have no interest in renewing. Because we had given a lot of people this for 30 days for free. And unfortunately, to be honest, it's hard to talk about because I really always wonder this. Why didn't we pivot? Do you guys ever wonder that when you're building a product, why your leadership team might not listen to you? And why like your instincts, like, if we're going down this path, it just doesn't make sense. Well, I had that moment. Turns out, about 4 months later, I left the company. About 4 or 5 months later, in July, they laid off 173 people, about 40% of the staff. And it's as if, like, even though I couldn't describe all the scenarios, and we did, we gave a vision, and the metrics were also showing and validating that. We were just fundamentally not going to hit our numbers. As a designer, I felt very frustrated. I really tried to have that conversation and say, hey guys, why not? And I can't tell you what the right decision was. I can't tell you that the vision that we had come up with was going to make us tons of money. But I will say it was one of the most struggling things that I've been through. It's like being a top exec, being in that role where you're impacting SoundCloud and you want to build this amazing product, but you can't. It's beyond your control. And it's a lesson learned. I still take that every day in every job I've had after that. But it's been really interesting. And then the next opportunity. My frustration with not being able to build the right creative, expressive discovery experience for shared interest for music, I thought, well, let me see if I can find something else, right? And I said, okay, I still think there's some type of product, give you a social platform, whatever, that can help people bring together this excitement around what they love. So I found this company called Hubrik. I don't know how I found it. It came to me. I have no idea. No one here has heard of it. I know. No one knows about it. It's okay. I was excited about it because this was my passion. This was my purpose. I really felt that I could help contribute and help people move this social area. And so I asked myself, like, how could I lead as a C-level? Like, now I'm a CPO. Like, whoa, this is amazing. And I remember I was interviewing with the CEO, and I said, well, this sounds really great. I mean, you're doing a social platform with e-commerce. Why are you building it? Like, how are your users going to use it? Like, why would they use it? They have Facebook, they have Snapchat, they have all this stuff. Why? He's like, come work for me. Come work for me. Figure it out. So again, tried to understand the user needs and wants, and we established that. We actually met with a lot of people that were signed with us as influencers. We had access to many people, and we identified them as trailblazers, people who were doing new and different things. And we said, okay, what do they want? What's not working? And they validated it quite a bit. They actually said that they were really frustrated with having to use 5 or 6 different platforms to get their message out. Now, if they're a skateboarder and they want to showcase their work, they have to use YouTube and Instagram and Snapchat, and it just becomes pretty endless. And they were looking for one place to do all of that. They also wanted to seek opportunities to make money. And we thought, okay, well, let's try to do that. Well, it turns out the company had been around for 3 years. And when I joined, I was there for like the beginning of the 4th year. And they had spent 3 years working on a back end. Microservices, fantastic. They had no mobile app. Not sure why, because I believe the younger generation was on the go and always using things, but they did not. And then I asked myself, okay, well, if you've been building it for 3 years, what are your users saying? They have no users yet. So wait, you've built most of it and you don't have any users. So, but this doesn't make sense. Like, why haven't you sent this out? Like, why haven't you had people start using it and experimenting with it? Like, guess what? The experience is not perfect. So why do you think the experience is not perfect? Like, what point did it become not perfect? Like, what signals are you getting that it's not right? And they polish this experience. This experience is a video experience that you can basically download and stream videos. They must have done this, a screen, at least 6 or 7 more times than what you see here. So I encourage them just not to polish and just figure it out and let's get it out. So my goal as a company lead was to try to say, okay, guys, it doesn't have to be perfect. Let's not go back to day one where we're just putting lipstick on a pig. Let's just really get this out. So we came up with this really, really, really cool activation story. We started working with our influencers, and we started off in UK as a beta, and we got the grime scene to work with us. And Tim and Barry came to us, and we started doing cross-platform experiences where people will start, they're already using these Instagram, they were using Snapchat, and we started doing promotions where we had marketing pieces, we had giveaways, and they were pretty excited. We started getting usage on the platform. It was exciting. I was like, yes, we've done it. Awesome. And it was it was a pretty cool product. Like, I was really excited to be part of it. And we did this with other areas as well. So when grime started, it was all around music and hip hop. And we thought, okay, well, what's the next special interest that would have overlaps? And we guessed, we had this hypothesis. And we said, we think that photography would be interesting. So we brought photography into things as well. And then giveaways for photographers. And then we thought, okay, well, if photographers are doing something, then there's models. So let's get the models on their platform. So we started growing. It was pretty amazing to see and to be accountable, to have that much impact on deciding what we were building and how we were building it. And we started getting feedback, but we ended up tracking all events on what we were building in our code. And we recognized that the feedback was critical and it was a loop, right? And so how much money we were spending, where money was being spent, how we got that feedback. And the irony was that they hadn't even thought about, if we're a social interest platform on special interest, well, you need to have an algorithm. And you can't have an algorithm if you don't have actions on the platform, right? And so we came up with this, the way that we worked with our data scientists and our data warehouse to really figure out how people were acting, how to build those special interests to have those overlaps, to know what to show people was pretty phenomenal. Unfortunately, one of the things that I struggled with the most was changing priorities. Not my own. I was constantly battling my leader. I was saying, CEO, yes, I know you want to go be cool, hang out with the influencers and go party, but we need to focus on these products. And then he would swoop in and give us feedback and say, what about this? Let's add this. And then he wouldn't like some design and he would want us to kill something. And so we would change priorities, kill code, and then recode features that were little and dumb, and we shouldn't have been doing it. We should have just kind of went forward. Unfortunately, we ran out of money and time. And it's been a really, really interesting journey to be part of a ground-up startup. I don't know if you guys have been through an experience like that, but I don't know. I was just talking to Scott earlier this week, and he's like, man, maybe you got into a leadership role too fast. Maybe I did. And I really do feel like I still have this desire to build great products and making different decisions and helping the company move forward, helping the teams move forward, helping our users be happy. And I mean, that's fundamentally has been my journey. And just to sum up, I learned from really amazing leaders at Skype and Microsoft. And, it was a good time to be in a corporation and had a lot of autonomy in what I wanted to do. I took feedback really well. I got to lead. I mean, absolutely amazing. To be a VP of design at SoundCloud, a notable brand, but in some way kind of bitter because I didn't really feel like I impacted the company, right? I really wanted to make some significant change and I wasn't able to do that. And then at Hubrick, where, yeah, okay, now I have the autonomy and I can do this, and we ran out of time and money, and it was really struggling. And like I said, like, I'm being authentic here. I'm just sharing you like what I've gone through. I hope you saw some frameworks and things that might have been beneficial to you. I also generally have some tips and things that I think just encourage you to be brave and ask those questions. Work across disciplines. Like, I don't know if you've joined jobs, and I think we've heard this several times today, but I can't just tell you even more. Even the person that might be in legal or in product management or marketing managers, like, I hear a lot of tension between product marketing managers and designers. Like, figure it out. Like, really try to work together, because what we market is what we build as a service, right? And once again, go for breadth of perspective. Your answer isn't the right way, right? But together, you guys are going to figure things out. So try to find your problems and solutions in a new light. Now, I'm going to say this next slide is about connecting the dots to get alignment. Now, this is not permission, and this is not about everyone being on the same page, but get alignment. That does not mean that everyone needs to agree with what you're doing, okay? But it's really important. And you'll see that different experiences, like maybe the board didn't agree at SoundCloud, right? Maybe the investors didn't agree with our direction. Maybe we were marketing something that the customers didn't care for, and it's not something that we're building, right? Again, I'm not saying that that's what happened, but I've seen this misalignment so many times. Building products where they don't make sense, right? You're building something and we're selling something else. It is like herding cats. I think most of my job is to do this, is to make sure we're like, come here. Hey, you're doing this. How can you do it better? And more than ever, tell your story of your customer, not your story, not the way you want to do it, but how it looks through the customer's eyes, whoever they might be, right? And make sure that's what you're telling your investors. Maybe this is what you're telling your leader. And every time you talk about your design, please do it through your user's eyes. I can't tell you how many designers I've met with who are like, and here's this wireframe, and here's the screen. I'm like, tell me what your users are doing. Tell me what they're doing. Why are they doing it? What is their end outcome? And learn to present. I'm here, I'm doing this. However this came out today, good or bad, I sucked when I first started. You all need to do this one day. Practice, get it out there. Your opinion matters. Please do that. Today, I've actually swapped roles. I'm no longer a designer anymore. I'm actually a product manager, and I work at Shopify. I do a lot of the things that I did as a designer and also as a senior lead, and trying to build great experiences for our merchants and a very technically awesome product. I'm having a really good time. I love what I'm doing right now, and I'm learning. Remember to have fun. This is me being silly after that 7-hour presentation in London at the museum. And this is me at SoundCloud after some sort of executive presentation at some other museum with other execs. Super fun. Always like to have great energy. And on that note, Q&A? You can ask me anything. Sure.
My name's Philip.
Hi, Philip.
I'm part of a health. Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Philip. I'm part of a health tech startup, and we're very much at that phase of trying to understand exactly what our users now and future really want. And it's a brilliant process, and it's one of the most challenging but satisfying. I'm fascinated by your time at Microsoft.
Yep.
If you were to go back to a large corporate now, knowing what you know about what it takes to be a scrappy, up-and-coming startup without limitless resources, how would you have perhaps tackled some of those Skype X opportunities? Would you have done it differently, or would you have repeated the same thing again?
I would do it the same, and I think we took learnings. To be honest, I feel like Gurdeep, our leader at the time, was looking at how startups were doing things, and that he was just like, "Let's just do it scrappy. Let's just get together." I mean, Microsoft isn't held accountable financially, right? I mean, I'm going to be really honest and tell you that they have infinite funds, and I never felt like we held metrics there at all.
Do you think on some level people know that?
No, I don't think people know that. I didn't know that.
You didn't know it, so you felt like, yeah, okay, so you felt the same sort of hunger, the same sort of fear that you had at your later roles.
I mean, I think that I felt I had more freedom at Skype because you're not bound by money and time, right? And so you have limitless funds where you have more freedom to play. Like, you're not in that sense of urgency for budget constraints, right? Or that hiring constraints. Like, we could have gone to work all day, or we could have done a little bit of work, right? And we didn't have that sense of urgency. But at like this, and I would say at Shopify, I feel that way as well. It's like, it's a well-funded beast that's IPO'd, and we have the luxury of money and time. And I mean, I'm not answering your question, right? But I feel that there has been more like creativity in the companies that have used different methods that are in startups. Like, I would encourage more corporations to do the opposite and use more startup methodologies. Like, I think that you don't know what you don't know, and when you don't know what you don't know, that's where innovation happens.
Right, thanks.
Like, methodologies are great there. Did I answer your question? Not really.
No, you answered it. No, that was great. It was a good presentation, by the way. Really fascinating journey.
Yeah, I've been lucky, or luck is for the prepared. I don't know. Anything else? Well, I will add at the end is that I haven't kicked off my website yet, but I am really bizarre. I kind of just go for it. I don't think about the consequences. I have 4 kids. I moved from Seattle to Berlin with them and went from Berlin to Canada. And I've had a lot of experiences, and I'd like to share my journey through a journal writing on a website, and I hope to launch it in the fall, in the winter this year or early next year. And please come along. It's called Unlikely Path because I always choose the weirdest path, the hardest path, not the one that you see the end to. And that's just the way I'm wired.